All right, guys, we're back for another edition of Talking Preps. I didn't bring my mask, so I guess I'll just do like Sam.
Gotta keep one wherever you go.
Look at Sam.
I always have a mask in the car. I always have a mask with me in the car. There's absolutely no doubt that I have a mask.
Hey, so let's talk about your shape up that you did.
Yeah, I cleaned the chin up. Look, guys, we got a big show. We got my girl Sue Doran in the back from CMS. I know everybody wants to hear from her, so let's drop the theme music. Let's get going. All right, we're back. We got Sue Doran as promised on the show. And Sue, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How about y'all?
Great. Doing great.
Everybody healthy? Everybody healthy?
Yeah.
Knock on wood, very healthy.
Knock on wood. Yeah, we're staying indoors and wearing masks. Dale's the mask king, and Gary has like 1,000 masks. So.
I'm vegan, so I'm like immune to all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
Sam doesn't think he can get the virus. Sam thinks he can like just do anything. He won't get the virus. So. But Sue, we got a lot of questions, so I want to get right to them. First, again, thanks for coming on. I mean, you don't have to do this and get drilled with 1,000 questions from a bunch of old men. I appreciate you.
I'm not old. I want to say.
You called yourselves old. I did not. That did not come out of my mouth.
All right. Cabarrus County last week put out their plan. It's similar to yours in terms of the start date, but they also listed all their, all the sports by date. Did CMS think about putting out all the sports by date the way Cabarrus County did?
We did, and I tell you that that when we look at our return, and when we return our high school student athletes to our campuses, we're looking at returning over 9,000 9th through 12th graders onto our campuses, onto our 19 campuses. So that is a lot of individuals. So we gave a lot of thought to the process of bringing them back. And there's no question the way to bring them back would be to stagger them versus letting them all just come back in the same day, 2 days, in the same week. We're going to have to stagger the return of 9,000 student athletes. So the thing we want to do is make sure we're providing the opportunity to have the safest return possible. So what we did is we looked at the first 2 teams the state was bringing back, cross country and volleyball, and we decided to bring those 2 back, and we're going to spend some time with them, making sure our schools are implementing the processes. And then as a district, we have time to evaluate those processes. And once we determine we're in great shape with that, then we'll start returning our other teams based on the order that the high school association is looking to bring them back, as well as input from our athletic directors.
Okay, that kind of leads into my next question.
Yeah.
Yes or no, is CMS going to allow athletics in remote learning? Will they be able to play games in remote learning?
Don't know that. We don't know that yet because there's a lot that could happen between August 24th and November 4th, and then 2 weeks after that into first games. So at this point, we don't know. We're still looking at the metrics. We're still trying to determine what's best for our district, for our student athletes and our staff. So we don't have a definitive answer for that right now.
But so when practice starts, though, they'll be able to have full out practice, those first 2 sports on November 4th?
On November 4th?
Yeah.
Again, we will look at what the metrics are saying at that point and make that decision at that time. Okay.
All right. So that has not been decided yet that they can go on practice.
No, I mean, we are, if you just look at the last, this hit us all in mid-March and everything shut down instantly. And so now everything's starting to come back. And even if you just look at trying to get students in schools, be it K through 12 or even at the collegiate and the university level, there's a lot of decisions being made. And then 1 or 2 weeks later, those decisions are being changed. So to try to on August 23rd, is today the 23rd, 24th? to say we're going to definitively do something on November 4th. We're not ready to definitively declare anything at this point. We certainly want to. Mm-hmm. We would like to, but it's just too fluid to say we're going to do anything definitively at this point. We're just taking it step by step right now.
One point I'm hearing from a lot of people in the community, they're saying, I heard. I just want to ask you, they're saying that they're hearing that all the ADs are really gung-ho, want to go. Is that the case? Are all the ADs really ready to go right now and full out go with sports, at least in terms of working out?
You talking about on a return?
Yeah.
Yes, I think all of our ADs are as eager as our coaches to return, or most of our ADs would be as eager as our coaches to return. But again, we're not going to do that we're not going to throw 9,000 students onto our athletic fields and into our indoor athletic fields all at once. We're going to do it in a methodical, safe way, and we're going to make sure each school has the processes for COVID questions every day, for temperature taken, for mass gatherings, for social distancing. We want to make sure every single school understands those, not just in their head, but in operating it day to day, because we're going to have to every day do it well. And it's going to take time for our schools to implement those processes and for our district to feel good that we're ready to move forward and bring the next 1,000 on, or next 3,000 on, or wherever we are after a 2-week period, to see how we feel about our processes.
I hear you.
But yes, I mean, certainly, I think coaches, athletic directors, student athletes, district athletic director, administrators in the school, I think we're all anxious to get students back and student athletes back. No question about it.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate you being on the show with us. I know that we're going to hit you with some tough questions, and you're like a card player. You're not going to show us your hand. But when do you think we can anticipate, like, CMS might announce the next sports back? And is it safe to say they'll go in order of the NCHSAA calendar?
I think it's probably logical to come back in the order of the NCHSAA calendar, but how many of those we bring back at one time is not determined yet. So, I don't know if it'll be just the next group. It could be the next 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups. We don't know that right now. We're asking our athletic directors for input on that. And again, we're going to look at our processes and how we feel about where we are before we determine how many of the next group to bring back. So yeah, that decision, I mean, it just has not been made at this point.
I got you. Well, everybody wants to play, including me. I know CMS cares about athletics a great deal. How tough are these decisions for you guys, trying to keep health and safety in mind, but knowing each one is probably going to disappoint so many?
Well, it's kind of like, I listened to Q. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before that you had her on. She said, and it's true with I think all of us that are making decisions right now, it doesn't really matter what decision that you make. There's going to be people that are really happy about it, and there's going to be people that are really upset about it. So you can't try to jumble trying to keep a certain amount of people happy versus unhappy. You've just got to make the decision that you think is right for your district, for your student athletes, and for our community as a whole. So that's everything that drives what we're thinking has to do with what is best for our student athletes and staff, knowing that the decisions that we make are not going to make everybody happy. So, and we could have come out and said, September 14th, all 9,000 are coming back, away we go. And we'd have probably just as many people upset as we have right now. So there's no right answer. There's no perfect answer. It's just what you have to look at your circumstances in your individual district and determine what you think is best for you. And what's best for us, bringing back 9,000 student athletes, may be different for, another 1A or 2A or 3A school, county that has smaller populations overall in their district. But for us, we feel like we made the decision that's going to give us the best opportunity for a safe return.
Good to see you again, Sue.
Nice to see you.
We all know that coaches don't coach for the money. If they were in it for the money, they choose a different profession. However, those coaching checks come in handy, especially, for a birthday, an anniversary, Christmas, something such as that, a one-time lump sum payment. Will coaching checks be reduced since the season is going to be reduced this year?
We have not had that discussion yet about, we're going to be playing less football games, less basketball games, less games in every sport. But if I think about what we ended up doing with our spring season last year, our spring season was cut drastically short, and we paid high school coaches the full stipend. So, my thought is that we would carry that through this entire school year. And I think part of my logic in that would be, I think all our coaches right now are working hard off of Zoom from the social emotional standpoint and from putting systems in. So it's not like they're sitting around doing nothing right now. They're engaging their student athletes, and they're just not on the courts or the fields or in the pools with them right now. But they're certainly putting in the hours, and they're certainly working with our student athletes. So, my hope is, and I'm fairly confident that that's not going to be an issue.
Good.
Sue, like everyone else has said, thanks for joining us.
Sure.
And thank you for thinking about the coaches there, and hopefully CMS will be able to carry it through like you did last year.
Sure.
The question I'm going to ask you, I'm sure a lot of parents is going to say it's not just athletes that suffer with this, but with the remote learning and the whole stress of this virus, there's a lot of mental pressure on these kids. And one of the things that I think about with competitive natured individuals, be it athletics or even some of the club activities, they this kind of constraint has got to be a mental pressure on them. So the question is, how much has the district taken that into consideration into the decisions that are being made?
Yeah, I think we all understand the social emotional piece because, particularly from the chair that I sit in, because I talk with our administration every chance I get about how important school-based athletics is to our schools. They drive a lot of the culture. They drive a lot of the personality and the enthusiasm on a school's campus. So I think that whole, what does a student athlete, what does a sports program, what does athletics bring to a campus? I think it brings life to a campus. And so the social emotional piece of this is huge. But, to try to weigh it in comparison to the physical health, of a student or even a coach, I don't know how you weigh that. And I think at this point, the thing that we've really looked at would be the metrics in Mecklenburg County and our numbers. If you look at our numbers of cases and our numbers of positive test results, they are so high compared to any other district in our state. And, I think, there's a social emotional piece that's painful from not being around your teammates. But I also think there could be a social emotional piece if we were to come back or had brought them back. And, we had something happen that was, I don't even want to say tragic, but we had student athletes get sick, student athletes be out, coaches get sick. and just the whole social emotional piece of that. Because I tell you, early on when I talked with ADs, one of the things that they told me, and I think this came some from coaches, is they didn't want to do the start and then have to stop because so many got sick. And so we had to pull everybody off the field and then start again and then stop and start again and then stop. And just the whole social emotional piece of that would be tough too. So I think there's social emotional pieces through every bit of this, not just from the being out piece, but there would have been from the being back piece as well. But yes, we have thought about it. We do understand it. And, but it did not outweigh our, just the health and safety overall of our 9,000 student athletes and coaches, 800 some coaches.
I appreciate that's a tough situation. I'm not one of the individuals. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough, because you can, when you think about all those things, you think about all the good on one side, and then you think about all the good on the other side. And then you've got to weigh it against the tough decision that you have to make just from the health standpoint. And again, there's no answer that makes you feel good.
No, there's not.
It just doesn't. There's not an answer that makes you feel good. So you just have to make the decision that you think is right for the moment. Yeah.
And we're dealing with something that we just don't fully understand. And I'm not one that buys into that just because they're kids, they're safe. So one more question. You mentioned the numbers and overall numbers, and this really probably drives to metrics, and you're apparently looking at certain metrics. And the question is there a metric that could push things forward for you instead of just meeting on time? But if the metrics got low enough, is there that possibility that things might even move ahead?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I think a big one is just in looking at our county, talking with our current county health officials and across the state, getting the percentage of positives from testing to 5% is big. I think just slowing down our number of cases, and really the last week has been good for us. The last 4 or 5 days has been good. That's been really encouraging for us. And then I think if we can get out of phase 2 and get to phase 3, I think the entire state's going to exhale. And I think it'll be huge for just us as a state, psychologically, from a business standpoint, from an education standpoint, from every standpoint. We've been in phase 2 since May 23rd, 3 months. We've been in phase 2. And I think that'd be huge. We've got to get out of phase 2. That's going to be a huge step for us. And then if we can get to that 5% number, I think is big for us as well. But does that have to happen for us to do something on September 14th? Not necessarily, no.
Well, good evening, Sue.
Sorry,
and
Chris.
I know it's okay. It's totally okay. You kind of mentioned this earlier that it's still not a definitive that you guys will move to practicing with or without the remote learning. But how can athletics function safely and effectively with 100% remote learning? And what protocols must be put in place to make it work? And even to kind of expand upon this further, what kind of thought process have you guys put into, the transportation of getting student athletes to the schools if it is remote learning for practices?
Yeah. All right. So I guess I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're asking, because on September 14th, we would be returning to workouts and we're in remote. Right.
So I'm just wanting to know how with the remote learning that you guys can function safely and effectively, just with all the, I guess the safety protocols and just everything that's in place, just to make sure that it works effectively, just to keep the student athletes from contracting this or anything else.
Yeah, all we can control is when they're on our campuses. Once they're off our campuses, we can't we're not going to be able to control a whole lot. So, that goes back to the processes that I'm talking about for how we bring them to campus, even with cross country and just volleyball, how we're going to stagger the arrival of student athletes to come on campus, and before they can even step into the practice facility, they're going to have to go through, a list of health questions. They're going to have their temperature taken. We have to make sure they've got their masks. There's all kinds of things that have to happen on the campus before they can even step onto the field or court where they're going to practice. So those are the kind of things we can control on our campus. When we're going to open weight rooms, when we're going to open locker rooms. Right now, we're going to ask student athletes to come to workout dressed and then leave workouts immediately after the workout's over with, so that we have a less of an opportunity for there to be cross-contamination of, one pod of student athletes passing another pod of student athletes. Those are the kind of things we can control on our campus. But once they get in the car and they go home, all we can do is ask our coaches and teammates to try to hold each other accountable to what would best enable the return of athletics to continue to go on. What would make that happen would be no COVID infections among our teams. So for that to happen, we're going to have accountability among teammates and a lot of preaching from our coaches about reminding them, wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands, be careful where you go, those type of things. But that's all we can do from a what can we do to make sure we keep them safe is, our responsibilities when we have them on our campus. And then just strong reminders for what they need to think about when they're off our campus. Not sure if I'm answering your question or not.
Well, no, I think you did. And the next question I really wanted to ask is, this past weekend, we've seen a lot of Southern states kick off with their Friday night and in some cases Saturday night football. How closely will you guys study the states that have proceeded with the full fall sports schedules, like Alabama and South Carolina and Tennessee and Florida and Georgia and Texas and so on and so forth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're watching those, just like we're watching schools that even at the college and the university levels that just take it from an academic standpoint that opened with remote and on-campus learning. And then now have gone all to remote learning because, again, it's a lot easier to control a group of student athletes at the college and university level than it is the whole student body. So the whole student body came back and lasted 2 weeks because that's a hard group to try to manage, where there's been a little more success with the athletic side of the college and university return, even though that's been a challenge as well. So we will definitely be watching any high school state that kicks off and starts playing and keeps playing. We are watching that strongly. So, and I think we need to be in touch with them, even as a state association and individual districts, to find out what in the heck are you doing to stay on the fields. Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with that. Every time I look at my phone, Carolina's got another cluster. And I'm like, God, y'all been out of school for 3 or 4 days and you still getting huge.
Well, right before I got on this call, NC State shut down athletics. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
And I know that's not helping the high schools, but you talked about how long we've been in phase 2. And CMS has come up with a plan to allow kids to go back to workouts on the 14th. I think prior to that, Governor Cooper is going to make an announcement. And if he says phase 3, does that change CMS's plan about maybe allowing more athletes or more things that they can do as opposed to just condition? Will they be allowed to use equipment or go in small groups into the weight room if the governor moves us to phase 3?
Yeah, right now we've told our athletic directors that we are in the NCHSAA phase 2 return. So we're going to allow, the volleyball team to use volleyballs. We're going to allow that. And then if on the 14th we have moved into phase 3, there's no question that it's like a jump start to how we would think about phasing in. I don't know that I want to say quicker, but I think it is encouraging that I think we would take a much stronger, harder look at when the high school association goes to phase 3, that we would move into phase 3. And then I'm not sure how much it's going to kickstart right now, weight rooms and locker rooms at this point. But phase 3 would make us take a strong look at our, the size of our groupings coming back potentially.
On Friday, the NCAA granted the fall athletes an extra year of athletic eligibility.
Nice.
How do you think that will affect high school athletes that are looking to go play collegiate athletics next year on scholarship?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I think we've got some student athletes right now that are deciding they're not going to play their senior year. They've already committed and they know what they're doing moving into next year. And those are difficult decisions for, families to have to make, for a senior high school student athlete to have to make, to leave their teammates in their senior year, not have a senior night. And they're just tough decisions. It's tough for the team that's left behind because teammates you thought you were going to have and the team you thought you were going to have is changing. I mean, all of that's tough. And that's the one thing I would say this difficult virus has. The one thing that it has done that's constant is it's taken everybody that has to make a decision, whether it's from the high school association to districts to families. All of those are having to make tough decisions. And those decisions impact, more than just a single person. But moving into next year with that decision from the NCAA, I'm not really sure how that's going to, what kind of impact that would have. I would have to think it's going to be a positive one. But what it does from a numbers case, I'm not sure at this point. What do you think?
Oh, I'm sorry.
What do you think, Gary? What do you think?
I think it depends on if the school has moved everything to spring versus if they're going to give it a go in the fall.
Yeah,
I think those athletes that are looking to go to the Big 12, ACC, SEC, I don't think it affects them as much as it does those athletes that were looking to go to the schools that have backed everything up to the spring. Go ahead, Grace.
All right, Sue. So good evening. I want to take our conversation a little bit into, maybe some creative ideas to help us, deal with the new normal we're currently experiencing. So, hypothetically, if the state allows, the LEAs to set their own creative, regular season scheduling, could you see, or would there be any appetite for a discussion on experimenting with a city or county championship? I mean, who wouldn't want to see, two Titans in the city battle it out? In one of our, maybe the renovated Memorial Stadium or somewhere nice, Sportsplex even, to just see who's the tops or who's the kings of the Queen City, if you will. Have you guys thought about any of that?
Right, so I'm going to assume you're talking football, right?
Of course I'm talking football.
Come on, so you know that.
Hey, we'll start there. We can go. I mean, basketball too.
All right, so you're saying the state is going to allow the 7 regular season games, but no postseason?
Well, no. So I'm saying hypothetically. So we're starting. So state says. So Q Tucker comes out and she says, all LEAs can kind of set their own kind of regular season scheduling. Would there be any appetite for you guys to say, okay, we want to set kind of a creative regular season schedule with a finale of a city or county championship?
prior to any postseason play by the high school association? I'm not totally grasping what you're asking.
So again, so for us, it's under the hypothetical that we don't have a full, because I think even Q's kind of hinted that, postseason may look a little different than what we were looking at in the past. So I was just curious as to have you guys, given any thought? And again, I mean, football, I guess it would compare to maybe a basketball conference tournament, if you will, kind of in that vein with football. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I really haven't given any. And I don't know if our ADs have, but I haven't given any thought outside of the 7-game regular season, and then whatever the format the state has for postseason. And I don't know if they're going to take teams into the postseason and then let other teams have another game. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. At that point, we can get creative in any way, probably depending on what teams are left. But if we're going to want a city championship, to me, those teams, for the most part, would be moving on to postseason play with the state.
I agree. I think that's logical. But again, it's unsure of what the state's going to do. I think is allowed for a lot of us to kind of play games while we're waiting. We have all this time, come with these creative ideas.
Yeah. Well, I would say keep playing and bring them forward.
I will. I think we'll write them down. We'll make sure we have some creative stuff. So, we got to make the most of it. We're trying to be positive and make the most of it. So
I understand.
Of course. Okay. So one more. So, we know potentially as things stand now, at least that, when we do have games in February, there will be a reduced seating capacity as to what we're actually expecting. Do you anticipate, schools having the ability to live stream games for a fee, kind of make up for some of that revenue, or has any kind of revenue, displacement situation kind of been discussed with everything going on?
We are trying to get to the final piece of the contract where we can get live streaming cameras into our football stadiums and our basketball our gymnasiums. So we're working hard at trying to get that accomplished. And then I think the other thing that we understand is, as a district, we're going to have to come alongside and potentially support our schools in ways that we've not had to support them financially in the past because of the lost ticket revenue. And then from a booster standpoint, just the lost concession stand revenue from home games. So yes, we have given significant thought that we are going to have to come alongside and financially support our schools in ways that we've not had to in the past. No question about that.
Great.
Just I have a question for you later on. I can ask it now because it kind of goes with that. Just to try to piggyback off what you're saying. So is there like a possibility that maybe we raise ticket prices to get into the games to maybe make up for lost revenue, or that's not a possibility?
The high school association sets ticket prices. We don't.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So every single regular season ticket price in every sport is set by the state high school association.
Okay.
Yeah. So that would be something that we would have to take to the state to get that waived.
Okay.
And again, that's a question that could be asked.
And I'm kind of off task here. Did you play basketball? I'm just questioning because you're unbelievable with the pump fake. Everybody thinks we're about it, and then you come back. You're really good.
All right. Are you asking, did I play it or did I play it well?
I know you played it well. I know you played it.
I did play it.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
Well, Sue,
and just one more real thing. Defense was my strength.
Oh, there we go. Lock down.
Well, Sue, when sports do begin full-fledged practices and competitions, how will CMS handle positive COVID testing? Would they immediately cause a shutdown for that team?
The high school association has protocols for how we move through a player testing positive, and then who may or may not have to quarantine, and then as does the state. How many that would take before we would shut down, we don't have that decision yet. We do not know what that would be. And again, I think the district would rely on the guidance from our our public health officials on when we need to just say, we're going to shut it down. We need to stop, whether it's at one individual school, two individual schools, or the district. I think that would be, we would need guidance from our county health officials on that.
Okay, and final question for me, and you've been gracious with your time, so I appreciate it. But this here is kind of the elephant in the room. What would you say to the football coaches who were looking around at many of their coaching friends and their peers and their rivalries who already been on the practice fields, and these guys here in CMS have not been able to practice yet? Some of these schools have been going through their summer workouts since June the 15th, and now with skill workouts, would you say that the coaches that have not been able to practice with their teams yet here in CMS, has that put them at a competitive disadvantage, maybe with teams outside of the county?
You know, I don't think it's put them at a disadvantage, particularly because football is not even going to start officially until February. So there's a ton of practice time, a ton of conditioning time, a ton of skill development time, a ton of tape study time between the first day that football is allowed back and February. So I don't think from a disadvantage standpoint that's going to be an issue. I do understand and I don't just understand this for football coaches. I understand it for every single coach of every single sport in the district. I understand why they're frustrated at not being out on the field with their student athletes and coaching. You know, that's what we love to do as coaches.
Absolutely.
We love it. That floats our boat. That keeps us breathing. And I totally get that. And I guess the thing I would have to ask them to do is just to understand, we're making a decision from a higher altitude maybe than they would when they're standing on their campus looking at what they think they can do on their campus. And, we're having to look at 9,000 students. We're having to look at the metrics for our entire county. And I know that there's other counties that maybe don't have the metrics Mecklenburg County has, that don't have the number of student athletes that Mecklenburg County has. And, the thing I would just have to ask them to do is, even though they're frustrated and even though they don't like it, to probably what they ask their student athletes that maybe come to them and ask why they're not getting more playing time or why they're not starting. And, I know you understand, or you think you should, based on your circumstances and what you think you're doing. But based on the circumstances as a whole and what's best for the team, and in this regard, CMS is the team, it's better that we have not started. And so I'm just going to have to ask them to understand that and let them know that I understand why they're upset. I understand why they wouldn't like it. But I do think it's been the right decision. I do think it has been the right thing to do. And I don't know that there's going to be anybody in the district more excited than me on September 14th when we start the return. And then on whatever day it ends up being, when that 9,000th student athlete is working out again. There will not be anybody more excited than me. I can guarantee you that. But I mean, hopefully they understand it's difficult decisions. They're not easy decisions. They're painful decisions. And they're decisions that have had to been made by high school level, collegiate level, professional level, Olympics. I mean, all of us are struggling with how to return student athletes most safely and most efficiently back onto our campuses. And there's no right answer. There's no right perfect time. I think just as a district with our size and with the metrics in Mecklenburg County, just our numbers in Mecklenburg County, and the fact that our state has stayed in phase 2 since May 23rd. I mean, that's driven our decisions that we think for the health and safety of our student athletes and our staff, bringing them back to campus before now was not the right thing to do.
You made an excellent point. I wanted to just bring it back up, and that was a player and their family assumes a player should have more playing time, et cetera, but the coach has to look at what's better for the team. And I think we, as individuals, need to understand that there are people that manage above us that are trying to do things that are right for our society. So that was a great point. I'm going to get back to a little, this attendance question is not going to be about money, though that is one of the important factors of having people be able to attend an event. The question is, of course, there are two big sports that have lots of fans, and that's basketball and football. And the question is, has there been any thought about who might be allowed to attend games if we're not allowed to have full capacity crowds?
Yeah, not a lot yet, because I think we're going to have to wait to see what those numbers might be, because in our minds, we might hope it's this group of people, but that group of people is not going to fit within the boundaries of what the state, be it the governor through mass gathering or the high school association, allows us to let into our facilities. So, at this point, we're going to wait and see where those numbers land. And then I want to work with our athletic directors at the school to get at our different schools to get their thoughts on who are the most important people. If we're very, very limited in numbers, who are the most important people to our student athletes that need to be in that gym first and foremost. But until we know what that number is, it's hard to plan for that. But I think there'll be much discussion with our athletic directors who will go down into the school level to help us determine who needs to fill those numbers. Who's the most important for our student athletes to get in and watch them play. That'll be their decision, not ours.
I agree. Sue, one final question we have for you, with the, pandemic going on and, parents, other stakeholders in these sports looking for other alternatives. We're seeing these, basketball travel leagues, AAU, we're seeing these 9-on-9 and 7-on-7 football leagues. Just want to get your thoughts on them. And, we do know a lot of CMS players will be participating with those in this fall.
Yeah. Again, that's one of those unintended consequences to a really tough situation. And, the only thing that I would say right now is we can't control what outside groups are organizing to try to get our student athletes to participate with them. The thing I want to make sure that's not happening is our coaches, who should not be involved in a lot of that, up to outside of what the high school association allows right now for coaching teams outside of a school team while we're in the school year. That's more of my concern, to make sure that's not going on than all these other things that are popping up, because again, we can't control it. And again, I hope once we do have our student athletes back on our campuses, that's going to ultimately be the larger draw for the majority of these high school students than outside clubs or organizations, because there's nothing like playing for your high school team.
Absolutely.
So, I've got to hope that once we do open the door and if they start coming back, that they run back to us, because there's nothing like playing for your high school team. Nothing like high school jersey.
Absolutely. You made a great point about making decisions from, I think you said 40,000 feet or something like that. I think most people don't consider that when you guys are making decisions. They're thinking about just my school, my campus, what I'm doing. And I agree with that. And you guys have an impossible job. And I just want you to know, like, sometimes people want to say that Langston is against CMS. Langston's not against CMS. I'm with you guys. And I wish you well. I know how difficult it is. I tell these guys all the time, you and Ernest have like two impossible jobs. And I just thank you for coming on the show with us. I
will say this. I do think you love CMS. I don't doubt that a bit. I think you have a heart for CMS. sometimes you aggravate me. I mean, I can be honest about that, and I think I probably aggravate you at times as well.
Well,
but I have no doubt
I wouldn't be doing my job well, but it aggravates you sometimes. I guess.
Yeah. But I don't doubt that you want the best for CMS. Absolutely. I don't.
We have a couple questions. One that came in from readers. CMS coaching stipends, are they taxed as a bonus, and could that be changed?
Well, I know that retirement and all of that comes out of it, but I do believe they're taxed. And can that be changed? Not sure. Probably, but if they're not taxed, I think a coach is going to have to report it as income, and it's going to end up being taxed.
It's taxed like at 50% or something, 49% the way it's taxed. They just want to know if could it be included in their salary so it's not taxed as a bonus.
Yeah, that's something that I could look into. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then you commented on this earlier, but we got several of these comments in. I'm covering your face up, but Liz McLean is concerned that CMS has underestimated the importance of students' mental health by sitting out right now. Can you just speak to that real quick?
Well, again, there's mental health and there's physical health. And those are the two that we weigh. And I don't want to say that we're not concerned with the social, emotional, and mental health of a student athlete. But what's driving our decision at this point is the physical health of them. Mm-hmm. Because if we lose them from a physical standpoint, the mental's gone anyway. Absolutely. So our primary concern at this point is on the physical side, with the understanding that the social, emotional, mental is a large piece of it as well. And that's where we have to help our coaches come along with with their Zoom contact with their student athletes, that teammates are keeping in touch with each other. We just have to hope that the large majority of that need right now is being met, not in the standard way, but is being met in some unstandard ways that may be falling short, but hopefully are carrying the load as much as they can. But the physical piece of it right now is what's driving
Absolutely.
The predominant part of our decision making.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on again. I hope you'll come back and ask you more questions. Right. Sam says to tell you bye, and he will play you one-on-one in basketball.
Okay. All right. I think I can handle Sam. I don't know about some of you other guys, but I think I could handle Sam. Yeah.
Sam, what you got to do?
As long as she don't pump fake,
she's gonna get you on a pump fake. Out of my cut tonight. I'll be out of the time I try to make a cut, she's pump faking.
Can we start with horse? You want to start with horse?
We could go horse, but I'm
look at her. No, we got to do that. We got to get Kinsey to record Sam and Sue and horse at West Charlotte. That's a date. We got to get that.
I see TV.
Again, thank you so much for coming on. We're gonna let you go. Go Wolfpack. Have a good time.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, guys.
All right.
That's Sue Doran. That's the boss lady for CMS. Hope you guys got a couple of answers and saw that there is some caring on that side of the equation. Sam, we're gonna give you a little break right now. We're gonna bring you back. Grace is gonna bring you back, and I'm gonna bring in two people who've been very patient in the back. We got Robert Blackwell and Shirley McDermott. Robert has a son who's a linebacker at Marvin Ridge. What's your son's name?
That's right, Tanner.
And Sully's the quarterback. I've seen a lot of your highlights on Twitter, Sully. You're a ball over there, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
But tell me, you guys started a Facebook page, is that correct? To try to get people to push fall football, is that right?
That's right. Yeah, my wife Michelle sort of spearheaded that, and it was I think several groups kind of came together to collaborate to try to make sure that the word got out to the powers that be, hopefully up to Governor Cooper, that these boys want to play, and these parents want to see our boys play and our girls play. But I don't have any girls. But I'll go ahead and speak to that because I know that they would reiterate that statement as well.
Sully, what's it been like for you? You guys in Union County have been allowed to come back in July 6th and get on the field, unlike the CMS athletes, but knowing that playing is so far away, what's that like?
No, it's definitely hard. It's different. We have modified practices, modified weightlifting. We got one person to a rack in the weight room. You got to lift with the mask on. So, I mean, it's hard. But honestly, I think it's bringing us together. I think iron sharpens iron, so practicing and playing with the same dudes every single day, I think in the long run it's going to help us, but it's hard to stay patient and wait till February to play. I mean, we all want to play. If we could, we would, but we got to wait, and that's how it is.
Hey, guys, where you're at proximity to the South Carolina border, I know that you're able to go through your team workouts and you're building cohesiveness, as you mentioned, through your workouts. But to see Indian Land right across the county line and some of the schools literally a stone's throw from Marvin and Marvin Ridge High School, it's got to be tough to know that they're playing under those Friday night lights here in the fall where football should be, and you guys are stuck waiting to play and kick off in February.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I literally live like 300 yards from the border. I can walk there. It's hard. Seeing private schools play as well is hard. Honestly, I feel like at a disadvantage. Why can they play? Why can South Carolina play? I know we don't have a say in it, but I'm going to play. We want to play, and we're ready. We want to play.
And have you felt like you had to recruit, or should I say, not say recruit, but just keep some of your teammates from maybe being lured to want to cross the border just to play football, just to keep them intact on your team? Because I know that you guys are primed for a pretty good season this year. So how hard has it been to keep guys from wanting to leave?
No, yeah, it's definitely been hard. There's a bunch of seniors on our team who all trying to get recruited, and we can't go out to colleges. We can't go to camps. We're not getting our name out there. So, I mean, there has been a lot of talk about people trying to go across the border and play, and a lot of people have talked about it. It's been hard. Like some of our young players who want to get out there and play and need the tape and need the film to show their coaches, the talented young players, it's hard to keep them because they want to play just like all of us. But, I mean, we've done a good job, and I'm pretty confident for this year.
Yeah, Robert, going back to the Facebook page and the petition, you guys had several thousand signatures on a petition. Did the Union County School Board talk to you guys? Did the athletic director talk to you guys? Did anybody take up what you were doing?
Not that I know of. I think a lot of parents felt like we needed to do something. It's hard to just sit idle and watch what we believe, are a lot of tough and in our opinion, some bad decisions are being made. And that's one of the only recourses that we had was to make sure that, our opinions were, that it was known that there was a good bit of parents and players out there who want to play. We want to let them play. Sully was just talking about all the practice and all the prep work they're doing. And these kids need to compete. That's why they prep. That's why they practice. And to just do the same thing over and over again, just creates, I believe, a lot of mental, anxiety because they can't get out there and do what they've been practicing to do. They want to show their stuff. They want to compete. Sully's been playing with these guys since Pop Warner, since middle school. They're looking forward to their senior season, and the parents are all looking forward to watching them play their senior season, and no one wants them robbed of that. And that's not to say the underclassmen aren't, don't deserve their kudos as well. But that's, I think part of the reason for the petition, the Facebook page, was to make sure that, if they're not opening up our emails, my wife was writing Cooper once a week, as well as Q. Now, Q did respond to my wife, by the way. Cooper did not.
He was a friend of the show, as you know.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. And so we just wanted to make sure that, the word was out regarding the sentiment of what we believe most of the parents and most of the players of all athletes, not just the football players.
Okay. And I have empathy for your situation because, even 25, 27 years after I was in high school, I still look back fondly on those days playing sports and Friday night football and everything surrounding the competition of playing teams across town or across the county. So I can only imagine, especially for you, Sully, how tough this is to go through and miss out on your football season because you'll remember these memories so much. So I can only applaud you guys for what you're trying to do and just the awareness and the effort you guys are putting forward. And, we'll think about you throughout the year and hopefully, you'll still have football in the fall, in the winter, in February and March months, and still be able to enjoy those feelings moving forward.
Yeah.
Sully, my question, there's 150 some odd games played in Alabama. There were several games played in Tennessee. There's even a prep game in South Carolina. It's all on my Twitter feed. I'm sure you probably saw some of that. What was the feeling on Friday night seeing those highlights, knowing you couldn't play?
No, it was hard because you say that. I was actually, when I saw that, I was hanging out with two of the starting offensive linemen and my starting running back, and we were just hanging out, just chilling. And I just popped on my phone and said Alabama is playing high school football tonight, and I'm sitting here. We haven't even got to put on a helmet yet, and it's hard. I want to be out there. I wish I could be playing, but it's come to the point where I'm gonna have to wait. And I'll do anything to just get 7 games in. It could be 2 games, anything. I don't need fans there. I just want to go out and play. Just play with my brothers. That's all I need.
Well, I hope you get 11 games in. I think there's going to be a 4-game playoff. I think there'll probably 8 teams on either side going to a playoff. And Robert, thanks for coming on, man. I wish you guys the best. Wish your son the best in the season. We'll be definitely looking at Marvin Ridge. We got to get you guys back on the show, maybe when you're playing Weddington or somebody, one of your big rivals, and get a couple Weddington guys, a couple Marvin Ridge guys, and have a little fun with it. How about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for waiting so much as well.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, if it's me and Chris on the screen together, that must mean that it's about time to go to the corner.
Uh-oh. And Langston, that last segment was a great segue into the items that I wanted to discuss here tonight on the Chris's Corner section of Talking Preps, because if anyone was following my Twitter timeline on Friday night, you can tell that, I was struggling with this as well. Even as a former coach and having been involved in prep football now for the last 20 plus years, it was tough for me knowing that was Friday night and that should have been the opening week of the season. I wore the typical game shoes, really the typical apparel that I would wear on any given Friday night, just for whatever reason. It's like my body clock knew that it was high school football time, and I should have been on a sideline somewhere. So it was tough, and I understand everybody that struggled with that, and that struggle is real, and I imagine that it will only continue to get worse as the season progresses and we start to see games being played in South Carolina and even some private school leagues here in the Charlotte area and the Carolinas. So going back to the Alabama high school football, upwards of 100, 150 games were played over the course of the weekend in Alabama. And crowds at some of the games across the South were upwards of 7,000 plus fans in the stadium, especially there in the Birmingham, Alabama area. And there's been a lot of fallout, I don't want to know if I want to say fallout, but there's been a lot of scuttlebutt back and forth, a lot of conversations via Twitter and other social media outlets about the large crowds, especially there in, again, that Birmingham area. Alabama officials came out today. I was just reading the alabama.com, the website there in Birmingham before coming on the show tonight. And some of the state officials have already come out and said that they expect there to be a significant spike here in the next 10 to 21 days from all of the fans that are at all the Alabama high school games. And even to add to that, while there's no rule as of yet, and I was looking through the Alabama High School Athletic Association page, there has not been any rules put in place to limit how many fans can come to a game. But some of the state representatives, some of the leaders came out and suggested that, if you've got a stadium that holds 3,000 people and you've got 2,999 people at that stadium, that you're wrong and you need to reevaluate your policies. So, that kind of brings me to the question of, will we see that uptick in cases there in the South and Tennessee, and just what we think will come with this, and will high school football be able to continue? Will they be able to sustain the season for the next 7, 8, 10 weeks in these southern states? And I think that the answers to those questions will probably help us understand how our own seasons will go in the coming months and next winter.
Yeah, I missed it Friday. I got to see some pictures from Brad Bowles. He's in South Carolina now. He's a good friend of mine. So it was good to see his family. you know, at the end of the game, your family comes down and gives you a big old hug. When you're sweaty, it doesn't matter. So, you know, I miss that feeling for sure.
And I'll admit that I was really close to getting in the car with a few other coaches and just about rode to Tennessee. In fact, I had a couple of high schools, even in Alabama, that reached out to me via Twitter and said, hey, man, if you can make it down here, we'll get you on the sidelines. And, you know, I thought long and hard about it. But, you know, like I said, you know, I've been well. I haven't been sick. And, you know, you just knock on wood. Everything's going well for me. And you didn't want to really test fate. But it was hard, really hard not to be on the sideline Friday.
Nah, I agree. Well, Chris, thanks for everything you do. Thanks for the corner. And we'll be back with you in just a minute. It's Kenzie time. Kenzie, how you doing?
I'm good.
All right.
I'm good.
I was going to ask you this later on, but I want to know now, how's the remote learning going for you right now?
If you followed along any with CMS schools, it's Canvas has been a little messed up. So technological issues have definitely gotten in the way of a lot of it, but so far it's been really great. I've had teachers that have tried, you know, really hard to make it as great as an environment as it can be, and I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, I've been dealing with some tough ability because being a PE teacher, I'm trying to just get kids to be physically active, and so we figured out some creative ways. But the problem with me, say what?
Virtual dodgeball.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'd have to get Sue back on here and do the pump. That'd be good. But all right, so tell me about, who did you interview this week?
I interviewed Hannah Schiffert. She's a private school athlete, so she's been practicing for a while now. She has games coming up, unlike the rest of North Carolina, and got her thoughts on that and a little bit about her commitment to Washington and Lee.
Oh, really? All right, let's see it.
Get down, ball.
Today we're here with Hannah Schiffert of Cannon High School. She plays volleyball. Hannah, how's it been practicing during a global pandemic?
It has definitely been different. My school has been taking a lot of safety precautions, so we sanitize our balls a lot. We have a dirty cart and a clean cart. We try and social distance as much as possible, and we lift in masks, so it has definitely been different, but I'm really grateful that my school has found a way to be able to play and have a senior season.
Now, Hannah, Cannon goes back to school in person Friday, half and half. You nervous? You scared?
I'm definitely more excited, I would say, out of anything, just to see my friends again. We have to wear masks the entire time, so that's definitely going to be something that's different, but once again, I'm excited to go back and be able to have some in-person learning as well.
Now, Hannah, you're committed to Washington and Lee. What made you choose that school?
Just the sense of community. Cannon has a very strong sense of community, and that was something that I really wanted in my college experience as well. So the community, the coaching staff at Washington and Lee, they're great. The girls on the team made me really interested in the school.
All right, thank you, Hannah.
Good. Bermuda grass in the background.
You know, the grass has been a struggle throughout the year.
Oh, really? It looks like we can get some chipping in or something.
Exactly.
I like having girls.
You know,
I like having more girls on the show, Kenzie. I love it when you do girls. I love having girls on the show.
Thank you.
I know this is football, but I love girls. What you got coming up? Who can we look forward to? We got to get Sam and Sue one-on-one. We got to get you to film that.
Oh, we got to get Sam and Sue one-on-one.
I'm telling you, one-on-one, I'm not losing. Zero chance. I'll bet the house.
I'll slam on you.
What about horse? She said horse.
No, we're going to do horse.
Horse, I'm a little worried about. She
If you can't make it when no one's guarding you, how can you make it when someone's guarding? I don't get that.
Here we go, guys. You can get that one-on-one too.
All right.
I'll play like a football player.
We got a lot of young kids that tell me they've been waiting on this segment, so let's drop it. Here comes Fresh Face.
intro is the best part of it, man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Heisman Trophy. Where's Chris Fowler?
I know, right?
He's gonna come give it out. Now you know I can never make it work. So I try to be like all cool, and I want to have the video queued up, and it wouldn't work. So, but anyway, Kinsey, we got another rescue. You got a nickname for this guy, Tyler Huff?
Just T Huff, just T Toff. But he can run the whole route tree. He's got great hands. He's gonna catch any ball you throw up to him, pick up some great yards after he catches it. He only had 21 receptions on the year, but 347 yards, averaged 16.5 yards per catch. So you know he's going to go long. He's going to do his job. May not be the top receiver, but he's definitely there to pick his guys up when they need him.
Sam, are you going to be able to defend this guy this year?
See, I can't. I'm not going to see that shit. Yeah, we're going to defend him. Dadgummit, you better believe it.
That was a great receiver class last year with the Barber kid that got hurt in the middle of the year. That Devin Chandler, number 5, was insane that whole year. So that's definitely not anything crazy. Like
Kinsey, how good is Huff going to be? I mean, we don't know how many kids are going to go early. We know at least 2, but how good is Huff going to be?
I think Huff's consistently good. You know, I might be a little biased, but we got Huddy Dimes throwing some pretty great receivers. I don't know if you heard, but he just got ranked a 4-star. You heard it here first on Chalk and Prep. So,
I
think Huff's going to be solid this year, like always. He's throwing to receivers. A lot of them are going to stay. So,
I love it.
It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
They're the most talented team, I think, in the whole North Carolina deal. Maybe.
Really?
Talented wise, yeah, I think
wow.
so.
That's a big statement. That's a really big statement.
I don't think it is. Dude, the team 2 years ago with 19, wasn't it 19 kids from that team went to college? Yeah, it was. Yeah, they were pretty good. So I mean, you expect that.
Okay, I'm really struggling tonight, guys. I gotta admit, I'm really struggling.
It's okay. Sometimes you have 4 or 5 turnovers. It's not bad. Like we're here to support.
I've had 2 already, and we've not even started.
All right, why did I say Huff right there?
We got a Grice kid here, DJ Maltsby. You guys lost a big time wide receiver. How's this guy?
Yeah, so again, DJ actually was our backup quarterback. He'll move to the quarterback position this year. Again, he's a guy that played quarterback, started his sophomore year at East Gaston at that quarterback position. He was a very versatile kid, played about 6-7 different positions for us last year. You'll see him at the receiver position here, catching a long pass. Sam, this is 4 verts and air raid lingo for you. So you have a lot of things that he can do. This play was great as it actually sealed the game for us against North Meck. Like I said, again, this is a quarterback. He played receiver because he was a backup, but he can do a lot of things for us. So I'm excited for him at that position. But as you can see, he's still got that game-breaking speed, and we'll find ways to use him. So, yes, Grinder, we will run the ball.
Yeah, I can tell. I was running with that guy. He's a dual threat by far.
Oh, look at that. Happy feet. Happy feet.
So he does a lot of great things. Again, you're seeing, I think every clip is him at a different position. But great kid. Like I said, he's one of those that he's been waiting for this moment, and I'm so excited for him to get that moment. And I'll coach him like hell to do whatever we can for him to have a great year.
Now, you said he played at where before he came to you?
He played at East Gaston. Again, with us having to rebuild the program, a lot of people want to come back home. No, he's a kid. Like, he's a brand new
You always accuse Sam of doing stuff. I was just making sure that was out there.
I had to throw that out there.
No, you can throw whatever it is you need. He went to middle school in our zone. So he's a kid that came back. He's a prodigal son that has returned back to the Hopewell area.
Okay.
All right. We got South Meck, Takai Moss. Grinder, what do you think?
Takai Moss is, like, I talked to Joe about him today, actually. I just wanted to know his personal thoughts. He loves this kid. This is what his program's all about, the standard, and because he does it all. The kid had to play quarterback for him, athlete. He's going to go back to safety this year. That's where his good position, but he could probably play corner at the next level. Very, very good in his physicality. He can hit people. He can run through things when he's at quarterback. But he's just a guy that does anything you ask. Like, the kid was literally playing quarterback and then going on defense on the next possession. And that's what Joe's looking for. I think that he's wanting guys that buy into the program, do anything it takes, and then they can be successful. So I bet you he wish he could have, 11 Takai Mosses out there on the field, and they'd be pretty good.
Yeah. Well, Joe really thinks he's got a shot to be really good this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what they look like. And I think that kid's related to Randy Moss too, I believe.
No, he's not. I asked him that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, the Moss son and the Moss daughter, like from Randy Moss, they have unique names like Takai.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm really struggling, as you guys can see, but I'm gonna figure this out. We got Brandon Perry of Porter Ridge for Mr. Richmond.
Oh God, he's a highlight show. We played against him last year, and I was coaching at Hickory Ridge, and he could have made a college recruiting tape just against us. He's a home run hitter. He can do it all. He runs out of the backfield, catches the ball out of the backfield, plays some safety, kick return. He's a jack of all trades, good D1 size. He's a home run hitter. I got to see it up close and personal last year. We barely beat him 51-48. And I bet he was responsible for about 40 of those points.
That's a lot of stats there, my friend.
Yeah. He's good. He's a home run hitter.
All right. Now let me. I'm getting there. You guys can wait on me. I'm getting there. I don't know why I'm struggling so bad, and I was starting with Sue. Cupperson, Miles Lopez, Chris, what do you think?
Well, guys, you like to run all these.
Oh, Chris Rose. We really have a problem now. Chris Rose up. This is a big offensive lineman for Cupperson. He clears the lane, and you'll see that he creates big holes for his guys. His coaches speak really highly of him. I heard a lot about him. Chris, you there?
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know what happened. I saw a black screen for a second. But you can't run these great offenses without guys like Miles Lopez. He's got an imposing frame, very good footwork, great form. I like the guy. He can play tackle, 6'4", big frame, 300 pounds, incredible strength. Now, you see this guy throw some weight around, push cars, flip tires. He has that country strong strength that you like. I seen him at the VTO camp back in July. This is a guy that's going to make some noise on that offensive line for Cuthbertson, and hopefully down the road. I do think that he's a guy that is going to be struggling from not having this senior season in the fall. I hope that he can accumulate some more offers, because I do think that he's a good player. I know he's lacking some offers now, but he's a really good offensive lineman.
All right, now I'm going to try one last time for you, Dale. I may be running out of luck because I'm really. You guys should see what I'm looking at. I'm like really struggling. Wait a minute, I see color down here in the green room, so it may work. We got East Meck, Lee Campbell, Dale.
5'11", 185, led the team in tackles. He had 44 from what I saw in Max Preps, individual tackles, and he plays outside linebacker. So, of course, you got him there at a different position, but they listed him in the highlights that I saw. You see that he comes up to the ball well to make his tackles. Senior, poor kid's unfortunately not going to get a nice hit there. Not going to get an opportunity to play it this fall. I kind of hate that. I did not get to see him last season. I did not watch any East Met games. This play here, he had a nice angle run down. Gary, they kept dropping people out. And that's just you and I. I guess. Is Langston going to drop it? Oh, goodness. So, Gary, the NC2A is giving everybody an extra year. So what do you think that's going to mean for kids?
I think it helps the college kids. It might hurt the high school kids a little bit. It just depends on how many college kids plan on returning. The NCAA hasn't said anything about scholarship numbers. However, what you're looking at is if these kids decide to return back in college, that's less money for the high school kids. I think a lot of it is going to have to do with whether that kid is a D1 recruit or whether he's a D2 recruit. D1 schools have a little bit more money, have more scholarships to offer, especially if they're a Power 5 school. They may be able to absorb the hit financially. But if it's a kid that, he's a good high school athlete, maybe not a D1 type recruit, a D2 recruit, he's going to be at mercy of how many kids at the college level want to return for that extra year. What do you think?
Yeah, there's several ways to look at that. One, of course, is as we mentioned last week on a similar topic, that scholarships are renewable each year. So just because they have another year doesn't mean the program will give them another year. So I think that it has a lot to do with what that recruiting class coming in looks like. And of course, you have injuries. There's a lot of factors, but also when you look at a team, a guy with an extra year is more mature. So that maturity and leadership can mean a lot in a team that can maybe move a team up to that next level. So it could be, as you say, not a good thing for rising seniors, and actually for the next few years, because this will roll through, right? If you get an extra year, so that's going to roll through for many years. So,
CMS is going to allow kids to go back to practice in the sports of volleyball and cross country on September the 14th. And then they're going to phase in the other sports, just like the High School Athletic Association is, in the order in which that sport is going to be on the calendar. You think that was the right way to do it?
Well, my whole thought, and of course they're following the NCHSAA as far as the sports and the start time. Personally, my thoughts are that individual sports should have gone before any of this, and let those kids go ahead and get out there and start doing things, because the impact's so low. Otherwise, based on what Sue told us, I like the plan of getting that first group in and seeing how things go with them before they make the next step. So, I mean, it sounds like while we complain about there not being a plan, and the thing that we've complained about is a schedule of playing, they have a plan. So at least of how to introduce things. The timetable may not. So is it the right thing? We could argue that one forever, but I think Sue explained the way she explained it. I'm going to buy it.
Yes, I think when that number 9,000 is what struck me. When she said 9,000 athletes returning, now I get it. Wow, you're phasing these sports in, because if you have 9,000 athletes all show up the first week of conditioning, you're liable to run into all kind of problems, especially if you have some type of breakout in clusters like they've had at the college level. It would be so hard to do contact tracing with 9,000 athletes all in the first week. So, now that she's been on and told us, that my only criticism is, why didn't they tell us this earlier back in July, when we thought they were going to get the workout, instead of waiting to mid-August? I think people would have been happier had they known the facts that she gave us tonight, had they made those facts public a month ago.
I agree. So we just passed what would have been our start week. How did that hit you?
It hit me when I saw Chris's tweet. That's when it hit me. I decided to step down from coaching football this season. So, I'd already kind of conditioned myself to not really thinking about football as far as Friday night games. But when Chris put out that tweet, the first thing that came to mind for me is, that first Friday night, coming out for pregame warm-ups, the smell of the concessions, the beat of the drums. I mean, it's nothing that can replicate that first Friday night of high school football.
I agree. There's nothing, to me, even as old as I am, when I step into a stadium, there's just that feeling that you get. And this past week hit me in that it's usually the hardest week on me because we have multiple games multiple days that we're playing, and you can end up seeing a lot of football games. So, I get by Saturday night, I'm wore out, and so I look forward to that. It's a look forward to point to be able to go to see scrimmages, etc. That kind of get you in the mood. But there's nothing like the real full 4 quarters of football and being there on be it a Thursday night or a Friday night. So for me, it was kind of hard. It was like, can't go grab a camera, can't go do, I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to see. I love being around those kids because it makes this old man feel better by seeing them, do things. It's a very energetic thing for me. So it was tough.
Yeah. Well, we will get some competition tonight because now it's time for Sam versus Grice. Grice, I got your back on this tonight.
Hey, I got
you. Hopewell guys coming together.
That's our theme music.
I got your back.
All right, like Gary alluded to, I think I may use my lifeline for the last question to get some Charlotte history debate a little bit later. But man, I like these topics. I think these are some of the best topics we've had, man.
Yeah, this is I've been waiting for this.
You've been waiting for months on this.
I've been waiting for this one for a long time. Like, to be honest,
get started. Yeah,
it's not even close. Like, there's a lot of people in life you can live with. But when you find that person, the one person you can't live without, that marriage life, the holy covenant, it's a different feeling. It's a security, knowing that she's got your back through thick and thin. I can't juggle the bachelor life. It's just the single life is a joke. Like, I literally be stressed out. I'd look like I'm 90 years old if I was in the single life right now. And that's why I feel bad for you, Grice, because you're aging very, very fast because of that. And I'm praying for you that you find that one you can't live without, brother.
I thank you. And as we've seen within the body as well as outside of the body, those divorce rates are pretty high up there, as I am familiar with. But the single life's the way to go. I mean, you talk about less stress, less conflicts. One of the things I can't imagine is how you get in trouble for things you didn't even do. There are things that your daughter may do right now that you're going to get in trouble for 2 hours later. And now you got to deal with that. I don't have to deal with the stress of outside entities causing problems in my life. As much as I love, and I have 2 daughters, as much as I love my baby girls, I don't have to worry about something happening in my house and me having to sleep on the couch or have a cold night just because I didn't do something or didn't do something.
I ain't got to worry about no girlfriends checking my phone. You got to worry about your girlfriends checking your phone.
No one's checking my phone. I'm not worried about anyone checking my phone. You're married. They have your phone. That is not your phone anymore. It's not even your phone. Again, it's variety. The variety is the spice of life. I worry. I'm in the best shape of my life. I don't have to worry about canceling for somebody's dog recital or something crazy. Like, we don't have all these outside entities having to worry about what I've got going on. That's the biggest thing here. I have stronger social connections. Me and my friends, we're at the best stages of our connection, our relationships, period. So, I understand what you got going on, but I'm able to, take care of my body, be in a great position. If you didn't have that show, I don't know if you'd still be at those.
You like the lonely. You should say, I like the lonely life.
I'm an only child, so it's not lonely for me. I'm an only child. All right, so we'll move on. We'll never agree there. Two of probably the biggest kind of most emerging teams in the state. Charlotte or App State, who you got? I'll start this one. Again, Charlotte is the key and the obvious answer here for one reason. Will Healy. He's one of the best and biggest and most upstart coaches that you see. I mean, App State, one of their biggest policies that you see is that they continue to recycle coaches. The third coach in 3 years there who's taking over a program that should be even, continue to be even higher than it is. So I think it's, it's different in the situation where Charlotte's taking the kids that they had, made it to their first ever bowl, and they're continuing to make history on a yearly basis. I look for Charlotte to beat App State actually this year.
Now, Will Healy, I love him. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. I really do. But Appalachian tradition and team, they're on a different level. They're competing with the Power 5 schools. They literally beat Michigan, many years ago. That's a huge statement in the big house. Like, think about it. Come on, let's just pause for a second. Like, I'm pulling for Charlotte. I think they're moving in the right direction, but they don't have enough tradition behind them to compete with an Appalachian right now. What
are you saying? They played in Willie's second game as a head coach with a freaking walk-on guy. They lost by 2 touchdowns to App State, who had all this history, all this huge roster. They lost by 2 touchdowns.
One team plays really good. One team's played really bad, and they still win by 2 touchdowns. And you're saying that they're the better team. You just said it for me right there. You just said, all right, you might be rooting.
This year. No, I said this year. This year. We're talking about this year. Charlotte's going to beat App State. Like, it's no comparison. You got the better coaching staff, the better team. They're going to be the better team this year.
They're going to beat them 100%. You bet. We side bet that. Sign dollar.
I got you. I'll tell you. I'll pay for your favorite vegan restaurant little spot there. I might actually get something too. So
all right.
That's good. All right, Tom Brady. All right, I'll let you take this one. Is Tom Brady a Super Bowl level quarterback?
Yeah, of course he is. He's the GOAT. All right, now he's older and he's at Tampa Bay, but he's rejuvenated. Now, you don't want to test Tom Brady because he's a dragon. The dude knows how to win. He's the greatest winner there is in football history. Okay, he's literally the Michael Jordan of football, and you're trying to say that he's not a Super Bowl level? That stuff just doesn't go away unless you deteriorate. That sucker is vegan, by the way. So his body doesn't deteriorate very well outside of Cam Newton. That's the only one we're a little concerned about. But, of course, he's the Super Bowl candidate-like team. It's not even close. He still can do it.
He's not the freaking third. He's the third best quarterback in that division right now. And I might be disrespecting Teddy. Not better than Ryan, not better than Breeze. There's a reason when he went to Tampa, he brought all of his little buddies with him, got Gronk out of retirement. He needs all this help to make sure he can go out there and be terrific. We're going to see Belichick was the reason he was successful, without a doubt. You look at Belichick, you look at Josh McDaniels. They got Cam Newton for the free pretty much with all of these pretty much on a free contract, and they're going to show you exactly why it's McDaniels and Belichick. They tried it out. Jacoby Brissett when Tom Brady was serving a suspension. They had Matt Castle got hurt. Jacoby Brissett on a short week against the Colts and beat them 20-0 with 3 days of practice. Josh McDaniels is the reason why Tom Brady at this age was one of the better quarterbacks.
Can you really say that with a straight face? Honestly.
Yes, I can. Tom Brady's not there. He had to run away from Patty Mahomes because he knows, and Belichick knows, they're not beating the Chiefs in the next 5 years.
Intangibles are such a great thing. I don't think he gets enough credit for his intangibles.
His intangibles are great, but I think what you're starting to see is that the deterioration of the physical abilities. He's got to have a top-notch offensive line. What is Tampa Bay's biggest issue?
Name a receiver he's had outside of Randy Moss.
He hasn't had a top receiver outside of him, but again, offensive line is the issue. His great Super Bowl years, the offensive line, Dante Scarnecchia, the offensive line coach up there, that is the reason they were successful. Again, the last couple of years, they looked like you out there running 21 personnel, 22 personnel. Sony Michel was the guy.
I might be pulling with Tampa Bay like Coach Bird. I know he's with me on this. He's a Tom Brady fan.
He's a lukewarm Tom Brady fan. I think Gabby will chime in here with a comment on that.
All right. Yeah, all right.
See, there you go. We'll be fine, quote unquote. Again, so like I said, I knew we'd have a lot of comments there. Like I said, I want to tag in a guy though. So again, I'm a younger guy. Y'all talk about y'all being old guys and stuff, and I'm not that guy to talk about being old here. So I'm gonna tag a guy with a little more seasoned, and a little more knowledgeable about Charlotte history than me. So Derek, I'll let you take this.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, Sam, you made a statement that just made it feel like somebody was scratching a chalkboard when you said that Drake May was the best quarterback ever in Charlotte. And I told Langston, I said, we got to discuss this. I said, now, I've been around longer than all you guys. I've seen Pep Hamilton, Lizard, Paul Trough, Coach Paul Trough, DeJuan Burton.
Never lost to him, by the way, at Butler. But,
and the kids from Butler, Ferguson. I've seen them all in the last 30 years. And it's nobody that comes close to Chris Leak. Now go ahead and make your argument for Drake May, and then I'll tell you why nobody comes close.
You got to hear why. All right, Drake May, it says, who is the best quarterback talent ever from Charlotte? I think Drake May is the best talented quarterback we have ever seen. He has great intangibles. He can run. He's athletic. He's very tall. He's strong. He throws the ball with a lot of zip, precision. I'm telling you right now, mark my words, when it's all said and done, we'll come back there and be like, dang, Griner knew what he was talking about, because he's the kid that you can see playing on Sundays for a long time and being really good at it. Trust me on that. And Chris Leak was a great quarterback, but what's the problem the one thing that he was so successful is he had the greatest high school football coach in the history of North and South Carolina, probably, in my opinion, Tommy Knotts, coaching him. That's a huge deal. He raises everybody's level. Now, did he do really good? Yeah, but Tim Tebow was kind of in the mix when he won the national championship. You know,
not
the
first.
What?
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Chris Leak
made your argument. You got one more. Go ahead, finish.
No, he's going to beat Peyton Manning. And he has all the intangibles. When Sam and I was watching Hickory Ridge play at Myers Park last year, and you watched the passes that Drake May was threading through the holes, he was reading the defense. He was physical, aggressive, running the ball when he had to, but he was precision in his passing, unlike any precision. I've got some very close HD video that I took of him, and it was unbelievable, the needle through a haystack quality passes he made in between 3 or 4 linebackers. Drake May, he might not be Chris Leak today because, again, he might not have a senior season. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But NFL, his ceiling's way up here.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to
say. In defense of Chris, when Chris finished high school football, he held every major record in the country. Touchdown passes, yards. He improved every single year. I don't like the question where a kid goes to school, but I think he could have had a Heisman Trophy type college career had he not been playing for Ron Zook. He went to a defensive-minded coach who was on the hot seat. And it wasn't until Urban Meyer got there, but Urban wanted to run the spread offense, and Chris was used to a pro set style offense. And he still won a national title. I think Chris came in at the edge of when everybody was looking at the prototypical quarterback, that you had to be 6'2", that you had to be a straight drop back passer, and that you had to be white. I think if he could have played for somebody like the guy who's the head coach at Arizona, or the guy who's the head coach at Oklahoma.
These Air Raid guys, listen to that.
Yeah, if he'd have played for those guys, he could have had an NFL career as well. I've never seen a guy with the accuracy of Chris Leak. And I've seen Drake May, but I saw Chris Leak up close and personal. I was in the stadium, in the press box, the night ESPN came to watch him break the national record. And you had all his national press there. And I told Scott Fowler, I said, he's the best quarterback in North Carolina. He was better than the Panthers quarterback that season.
At the time, Chris Leak was.
Fowler wrote it. Scott Fowler wrote it.
Gary, you said he could have played in the NFL. So you're saying that NFL scouts blew it?
I think he didn't go to the right program. I don't think the NFL was open-minded enough to make an offense to fit his skill set, just like they do now with Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield and all these shorter quarterbacks that have had success recently. I don't think the NFL was ready for Chris at the time, and I think he was hurt by that. I think if he could come in under the same circumstances that quarterbacks come in today, he would have been a success.
They were ready for Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Right.
The timing is a lot different, though. The timing.
I don't think it's. I think it's an NFL scout's job to find a player, especially one that you could get at a low draft pick. I think it's their job to find a player, but I gotta.
Let's not talk about how the scouts fawned over Mitchell Trubisky when you had Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes. Go down the line of all these. Let's not. I mean, scouts do get it wrong. Let's be clear there. I do think there is something to say about that time frame as far as when quarterbacks were coming up as to if they really are fitting the skill set, because what you see now is teams adapting and changing to the skill set and the players they have. You look at John Harbaugh almost about to get fired, or at least on the brink. Next thing you know, he says we're going all in on Lamar Jackson. And you see with Greg Roman, who has experience developing other quarterbacks of that nature, like a Tyrod Taylor, like a Colin Kaepernick, really going all in to fit the talent that they have. So I do think that that's a novel idea that you're seeing at the highest level, but I think it's also with less inventory or less true pocket passes out of your great quarterback.
Okay, I was brought in because I made a comment about, and this is about the greatest quarterbacks from Charlotte, right?
Yes.
And I didn't hear, even when Gary went through things, I didn't hear Epley's name mentioned. And Epley's the guy that Spurrier camped out at Harding trying to recruit him when he was at Duke. A three-sport athlete, one of the best athletes I've seen play, period. He started at point guard and quarterback at Clemson University. Very, very good quarterback. As Coach Harden said, Epley was a kid that he could let run his offense. Epley played in an era that we were still running wing T stuff. So we're talking about early 80s.
Well, I think Drake's dad, I played against Mark.
Exactly.
And Mark, he was like Epley too. I mean, he was the best basketball player in town. He was the best baseball player in town. And he was the best football player in the state. Yeah. And he went to school on an academic scholarship.
Yep.
So,
Mark made Red Springs ruin my homecoming. Mark made Red Springs. It was raining, and it was like pouring down rain. It was 35-7, and nobody threw 5 passes a year, Grace, back then. Everybody ran the ball, and then finished the ball all over the field. Mark May was the best high school athlete I'd ever seen. I'd never seen anything like it. Because then he came back and beat the crap out of us in basketball and baseball. And I'm at West Charlotte, think I'm at the school, and we can't beat Mark May. I mean, he kills us in everything. I saw Epley play. I think Epley's a great player. I think Chris Leak's the best quarterback ever out of Charlotte. I think Chris Leak's the best high school football player ever out of Charlotte. He was just so on a different level, like Gary was talking about, versus everybody else I've ever seen. This is my opinion. You can disagree, and Dale, you can talk. But he's just on a totally different level. What he was doing at the time relative to his competition is just something I've never, ever seen. He threw the most beautiful football I've ever seen. Every last one. I saw Independence play 99,000 games. And I saw maybe 2 wobbly balls. It didn't matter if it was raining, snowing, sleeting. His ball was spinning.
It's spinning, but it's not as fast.
The one thing I noticed about Chris was that I remember he and CJ, his brother, came to the office to take a picture. And Chris kept standing up on his tiptoes. And I said, why is he on his tiptoes? And then it really kind of struck me that he was like 5'11". It really didn't hit me until then that he was a little shorter. He was trying to be tall like his brother. And I tend to agree with Gary that at the time he came through, they weren't looking for a 5'11" quarterback. Drake May 6'6" with a cannon. I mean, he's a different level dude. But in high school, Drake May hasn't had a senior year yet. So we're comparing Chris's whole body of work to Drake's partial body of work. But Drake May long term, I think, is going to be a better prospect just because his measurables are there. That's my opinion.
I don't think Drake could. I mean, I don't think that Chris threw the back shoulder as well as Drake does. Drake threads needles. As a junior, he was threading needles. I can't imagine what he would have been like for us to see him play this year. My gosh, that when I watched Joe Cox from his junior to his senior year, what a transformation in a player. Joe had a phenomenal senior year.
Well, his argument for another day was Joe's team, that 04 team, better than Chris's best team, the 01 team. We've had this argument before.
I got to go.
I say, I think the 01 is better. You know why I think 01 is better? Because they got my man on the sideline. No offense to Guyler, but they got my man on the sideline. I'm never going to go against Tommy Knox. Never, ever. Best coach I've ever seen in any sport, Tommy Knox.
But that 04 team was so good, they were able to roll in.
The 01 team stats are just as good, if not better. That's what a lot of people forget.
Yeah, but that was with Tommy Knox.
I think
it's just hypothetical play. He'd be coaching.
Last point. I got to make this point. Y'all said it for me. You said Mark May, his father, is one of the best you've ever seen, correct?
Yes.
If you ask Drake May who's the best athlete in the family, he'll say his mother. Okay? Yeah. Now you're saying his mother's a better athlete than father. You're talking about the gene pool that this kid, you guys don't understand how good he is.
His mom was the truth in West Charlotte.
Mom could play. I saw mom play high school basketball. She was
telling you right now,
conference player of the year. I mean, she was absolute truth.
If I could buy stock in Drake May to be a big I would buy stock. I might call the day trader Mark May and see if I can buy stock in his son.
You said it'd be Apple, huh?
You know I really want to buy stock in, though, Coach? I want to buy stock in Powell Echols.
Oh, yeah, me too.
That's another good one.
You put 200 pounds on Powell Echols. I know he's playing on Sunday.
Even though he didn't call me back last night, I had to ask him a quick question. But, yeah.
That's your Apple and your Microsoft of buying stocks.
We are, the one thing that, having this discussion, and Chris can talk about this, we're incredibly lucky to have this level of talent in our area. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I've been through a magical era, and I'm trying to work on something that's really special right now. I don't want to give it away, but we've just been through a magical era of high school talent. It doesn't seem to be slowing down. I talked to some of my, friends that cover high schools in different areas, and they're like, dude, we're lucky we have like one college guy a year. And, I just did a story today. We had 6 dudes from North Carolina make the Sports Illustrated All-American team, and 4 of them from right around here. I mean, it's just amazing the level of talent we have. Guys were really heavy. They're telling me to get off. So, Sam, do you think? Final thoughts?
Final thoughts are just this. Everybody that's doing the online learning, I've been a parent on it, and I'm also a teacher. Make sure your kids are just logging in when they're supposed to log in. The interaction with the teacher is the most important thing. I know the work can get overwhelming. Just do the best you can, just logging in when you're supposed to log in to make sure you're there for the attendance and the interaction.
Man, that was a quick – I wasn't even ready.
Good point.
All right. You said we were heavy.
We are. We're very heavy. We're very, very heavy. Just a couple quick comments. Brad Stubbs loves Sam and Gary. Gary's Captain Sensibility and Sam is Captain Action. So everybody likes you guys. And Bryce, I was trying to find a comment. Somebody was trying to be Cupid for you. There's so many comments that came in.
I thought Chris Griner. Griner always
somebody was like, "Don't worry, you're gonna meet your perfect mate." Wait, here it is. Here it is from Gabby Bird. There it is, right there.
No, see, we have this conversation like that. She's an amazing head coach's wife. She's awesome. I'm good, but I appreciate it.
She's trying to marry you off.
Gabby is definitely one of the best coaches' wives I've ever seen. Yeah. She has pictures. She does a lot. She is the biggest supporter of her husband. As you can see, is in a wife for a coach.
Everybody's got to have it. Well, guys, I hope you guys out there, got some questions answered. We try to bring you the newsmakers every week. We react a lot to the news. We want to bring you guys direct to the source of the news, let you hear from their mouths. That's one of the things I like about this show. It's not me quoting them. You can hear it from their mouths, and we're going to continue to try to do that. Thanks for I think we got the best group of hosts in the Carolinas talking football. I mean, I'm incredibly lucky. I mean, Dale and Chris, I've known these guys for years, and they're 2 of the best experts I know. Gary is probably the most knowledgeable sports person I know. You guys got to follow Gary on Facebook, man. It's easy.
Yeah, Gary's
crazy follow. Grice is just a natural talent, and Sam's my guy. So we're gonna keep building, guys. We'll see you next Monday on Talking Preps.
All right, see you guys.
Sue was awesome, was she not, guys?